Thank you very much, Kwabnakra, for that wonderful perspective. And so let me just say that if you are joining us for the first time, this is CEFSA Talk, and today we are discussing the topic promising agricultural innovations in Africa. And our guests have been Kwabnakra, Moses Malagan, Zainab, and then Oliver, who just took leave of us. We are also still expecting to hear from William Lanier, who is the CEO of Never Idle Farms, an innovative company that addresses post-harvest losses. Once we get him, we will bring him on board. But before we get him, we will start the second round. So, and the question is this way. Now we've seen that innovation arguably is very, very important, but there are some challenges. There are obviously a lot of smallholder farmers who are not benefiting or who are not adopting these innovative inventions that we have around. So the question we ask is, how do we unlock the potential of agricultural innovation in Africa to transforming the sector? And probably again, I'll start with you, Zainab. How do we do that? How do we make sure that your choose and pick, the visiting our farm, the extensions services that you are giving, how do we make sure that these potentials are being adopted by smallholder farmers? How do we make sure that the youth out there are also innovative enough? How do we unlock this potential of innovation in the African agriculture? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evans. And to address your question, I think Kraft made a comment on production, and I think I perfectly side with him. Like in Ghana, for now, as a country, I don't see a problem in agriculture to be with production because the numbers are, I think, huge for now, and the losses in the system are equally huge. So we are talking about agricultural industrialization. We are talking about market linkages. We are talking about market intelligence. Where do we source which commodity from and to what market? That is it. So I perfectly side with you, Kra. And then to address the question, I'll start by addressing the role of extension organizations in transferring some of these innovations to farmers. Permit me, I'm sure I'm going to sound a bit biased because of my background. And I must say, the role of extension is very crucial in the adoption innovation process because the extension agent is the one who works very close to the farmer. He better understands the situation of the farmer. He understands the circumstances around the farmer. So when the extension agent is well equipped with information, for instance, an extension agent or officer is supposed to disseminate innovation to farmer. There's what we call, permit me to also use this popular cliche that agriculture is the backbone of the economy. We, the extensionists, we will say the backbone of agriculture is extension. The extension systems within the agricultural system is key because if I'm supposed to communicate to the farmer, I have to have a better understanding about the information I'm communicating. I also have to have a better understanding about the circumstances of the farmer. Because once I meet a farmer, I introduce an innovation to the farmer and the farmer understands the innovation, does not mean that the farmer is going to put it into practice. He has understood it. But as to implementing that innovation is another thing. And there are a whole lot of factors surrounding it. So now he has understood, if even he has understood and he wants to adopt it, what is the probability that he's going to even repeat the same innovation? So in this way, there are other factors. And this will lead us into what we call the theory of planned behavior and reasoned action. The farmer always would want to take decision and want to adopt innovation based on his beliefs, his socioeconomic characteristics, specifically his demographic characteristics of the farmer is key. And then also sociocultural norms, I have mentioned that, and then beliefs. So as an extension officer, working closely with the farmer, we need to also understand what their plights are. So we are also preaching the multi-dimensional approach in addressing problems within the agricultural value chain. We're saying that the linear system whereby the researcher develops the innovation and transmits the innovation through the extension officer to the farmer is, I think, it's awkward. We don't have to buy into that approach now, because if I should sit, the researcher, the extension officer, and the farmer should sit, identify the problem together, find the solution together. I believe implementing the innovation will be much easier for the farmer. So we are saying that agricultural extension and then the position of the farmer is a critical situation you always have to pay attention to. In the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, there is what we call RELC, Research Extension Farmer Linkage. Formerly, it's used the linear pathway of communicating innovations. And for now, we have research has gone on, and then we have moved a step further. So we are bringing on board all stakeholders, just as I mentioned earlier, like the innovation platforms, all actors coming together, trying to find solution to the problem. So if I was part of the needs assessment, I was part of identifying the problem, then the solution comes, and I'm very much comfortable in implementing the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zainab. And I like one of the things that you said, that when we say, I don't know whether still agriculture is the backbone of Africa's economy, but I like what you said, that you people believe that the backbone of agriculture is extension. And I also totally agree. But it gives me the impression that, just a follow-up, it gives me the impression that we do have a problem in our extension, service delivery in Africa, and in particular in Ghana, where you come from. But if I'm to put you on the spot, I mean, beyond the multidimensional approach that you talk about, if we would not have any multidimensional approach currently, what would be your recommendation or suggestion for an innovative extension service delivery? What would you think? What do you expect to change immediately, apart from the multi-dimensional approach where we bring the researcher, the farmer, and the extension person together, as you talked about?
I think there was a break in the line. Can you, the latter part of
the latter part? I was saying that beyond the multi-dimensional approach that you talked about, what would be your suggestion? I mean, you work in the extension service, and this, I'm asking a question around an innovative extension service delivery. What would be your suggestion for the current extension service delivery that we have?
Okay, good. So I will talk about motivation for the extension officer, or the extension approaches being adopted. In as much as we are all trying so hard to find solutions to the numerous problems within the agricultural system, most often than not, when the researcher develops the innovation, the researcher is more or less appreciated. The researcher is more or less recognized, but always forgetting about the role the extension system has played in transmitting the innovation to the farmer. So that motivation sometimes becomes an issue. So I believe in going forward, if there could be even scholarships, policy, like deliberate governmental policies to encourage extension officers, to go the extra mile, go beyond whatever situation they find themselves. I think it will also help. And then another thing has to do with resources, resourcing the extension officer. You believe, as an extension officer, you go to the field, the farmer is having a challenge with the soil. Even a common simple soil fertility test kit is not available. If the extension officer has this test kit, he could just quickly and do some analysis with the soil and tell you, go for this product, go for this other product. So I believe resourcing the extension officer is equally crucial in sustaining innovations, thereby improving the livelihoods of the users of these innovations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I was going to come to you, Moses, also for your take on how we can unlock this potential. I mean, and I like the perspective that Zainab talked about, and I completely agree that indeed, I like that phrase that the backbone of agriculture is extension, and we need to keep an eye on our extension service delivery. But before I come to you to hear your take also on what do you think can be done? I mean, from the perspective of you as an entrepreneur, a farmer, and a developer. We have Edmond on the line. Unfortunately, we couldn't reach William Lanier, who is the CEO of Never Idle Farms. We said that this is also an innovative technology that addresses post-harvest losses. But one of our regular panelists, who is also a producer of this show today, has some information about what he does, and he would share with us briefly concerning this type of innovative idea, so that people also get to know that beyond extension service delivery, beyond Hello Tractor, Trot Tractor, beyond Agro Innova, there are other innovations out there that could be patronized. Edmond, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes. So what do we know about Never Idle Farms? What do they do briefly?
So briefly, Never Idle, the idea of Never Idle is around post-harvest losses, and rightly so, because like Zainab said, production is not a problem in Ghana. She might correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm paraphrasing or using her words. And if this is the case, then the problem that Never Idle is trying to solve here is, if production is not the problem, then how do we get the food from production to the plate? So clearly there is a missing link here, and we lose a lot through post-harvest losses. And it's a huge issue. We have to see it from that angle, because, for example, when farmers are not sure how long they can hold their products, they are under this urgency to sell the products either cheaply to the market or offload it any way possible. And we in Ghana, we better understand this, because we live in a situation where all food commodities in Ghana are more or less seasonal. So today, cassava is there, it's very cheap, but trust me, 2 months afterwards, cassava is so expensive because it's out of season. And we cannot build a sustainable economy with this model when food is not all year round. So the idea of Never Idle is to solve this by mobile storage system. And the mobile storage system is just like the traditional storage systems, but the difference is that this time you can move it to the farm. So imagine a farming community in Volta region where they can have the opportunity to have a mobile storage system after their harvest to hold their crops for them. And in doing this, you eliminate the fear of farmers that if I don't hurriedly sell my product, I will lose it, or it will go bad. So this is the concept behind the Never Idle company. And I find it very fascinating, because this is one thing we should pay attention to. And in my conversation with William, he was telling me that it's rather sad that the focus has been on production, and more on inputting, that is important. But what a waste of money that is when you put so much into production, but you cannot convert that increase in production in increase in nutrition, because that increase you gain in production doesn't end up on the plate. They get rotten and they just get wasted. So imagine you invest so much money to scale up your production, double your production. However, the populace, the people for which you are increasing this production for, they are not seeing the impact of this increase in production just because we poorly manage what we get after the production. So like in a nutshell, this is the idea of never idle. And so he came up with this system where you can take the storage facility to the farmer, and it complements with what all of us are doing here. Because I mean, if I think of what Moses is doing, if farmers have a way to store their maize and supply to the poultry farmer all year long, then probably we can reduce the cost of feed drastically and have the assurance that we can produce meat all year round. And if you ask poultry farmers, one of their biggest challenges, they will tell you feed. Maize is here in the season, maize is not there out of the season, and you have to pay more to get the maize coming. But if we can tackle this problem, much can be done. I think this is what Never Idle does. I hope I've given you a better summary of his idea, but hopefully we will bring him on board again, and where he himself can tell us more about this idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edmond, for that wonderful summary of what Never Idle Farms does. So, Moses, over to you. How do we unlock the potential? There are so many young ones out there who are very innovative. Our farmers themselves are very innovative, but we seem to lag behind. How do we unlock this potential?
Yes, thank you, Mas. But primarily, I think the question is it rallies around adoption of this innovation. And as Mrs. Zainab mentioned, there are a lot of things like extension officers, and I think I agree with her 100%. And I've been observing a trend when it comes to adoption of innovation, technology innovation in the agri sector. But I think it's also there's a misconception, a lot of misconception. We think in Ghana, so my statement is specific to Ghana. We think farmers are the uneducated people. They are the school dropouts who don't know how to read and write. But it's amazing. A lot of farmers they have basic education, and if my research is right, the literacy rate in Ghana is 79% currently, and over 60% Ghanaians, one way or the other, find themselves in agriculture. And almost half of Ghanaians are using smartphone. Half of Ghanaians are using smartphone. Actually, the phone usage is more than the population. I'm referring to smartphone. So I think we have enough conducive environments for adoption. But is it enough? Let's look at the case of a seatbelt in Africa, in Ghana, where even sometimes the police have to insist or direct drivers to put on seatbelts before they use it. And this is something you don't pay for. This is something is for your own health. So I think there's some drivers to adoption of innovation, be it in agri or any other sector. And one of them is education and marketing, publicity in the nutshell. We have to do a lot of publicity. All these things comes with financial facilities. And aside that, I also think sometimes this innovation, and here again, I also agree with Zainab on primarily having a farmer-centered approach in developing your solutions or innovations so that they get to relate and understand to what you are developing for them, and then they're able to use it. But I'm also I've also realized more of these innovations are in isolation. So let me give a typical example. If farmers are asked to use a particular software, that in using that software, you have access to financial credit. I think we call those things pull and push factor. So if you have a software that enables you to manage your farm, because the financial services want to understand your performance and they need data on your farming activity. So there's a collaboration between two companies, an agriculture company and a financial company, saying, okay, we are supporting smallholder farmers, but then we want to do this through this agritech company, where for you to access this loan, for you to access this service or this incentive, you need to be using this agritech. And those are some of the pull and push factors that's going to get the people into using it. But oftentimes, there isn't enough collaboration in the system. So the innovation is sitting on its own. The financial services and other partners or collaborators also are sitting on their own. So it makes getting these innovations to the farmers or the smallholder farmers very difficult. And I think there are more youth in agric now, though I don't have the data to back it, but I think there are more youth in agric now, and there are more educated people in agric now. And last I was mentioning to a group of people that, see, we have people in the cities who are farmers. They don't go to the farm to do the planting or the sowing. It doesn't take away the fact that they are not farmers. They are the ones sending the money for the inputs to be bought, for everything to be done on the farm. And these people are educated people. So if you introduce the innovation to them, they are able to, on their phone, make use of these innovations to have a better farm performance. So what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of drivers to this. One of them is education, mindset of people. So we think farmers are not educated people, so when they send it to them, but as I just mentioned, literacy rate in Ghana now is 80%, almost 80%, and more than half Ghanaians are doing farming, and 1/3 Ghanaians are using internet, and half Ghanaians, over 50 million Ghanaians are using smartphone devices. So when this education is made known to people, okay, then the narrative is changed. We have a different approach to how we see things. Then we look at how to now collaborate. Agritech and financial services come together, insurance companies and agritech come together. All those kind of, there's enough collaborations. We have the pull and the push factor. Because you want insurance, you want financial service, you want free input, you want all those kind of stuff. If there's enough collaboration among or between the players, I think it will get these farmers to adopt these innovations, for them to see efficiency, maximize efficiency in their farming activities. And when there's efficiency in their farming activities, definitely it's due to profitability, and they are able to scale up their farming activity. So yeah, that's my.
All right. Thank you very much, Moses Malagan. He touches more on the fact that in order to unlock this potential, we need to get rid of the misconception out there that farming is for the illiterates. And so if you're a young man or a young woman who has some innovative ideas, mind you, our farmers are educated and they are able to, adopt these innovative ideas that you will bring about. But maybe Moses, not necessarily a follow-up, since it's a conversation we are having. I do not intend to put you on the spot, but what are you doing, for example, you as an innovator, to make sure that the challenges, to ease out the challenges that smallholder farmers might face in adopting these things in your own small way? Is there something you're doing to help unlock the potential, not only of farmers adopting, but also of others, coming on board and collaborating with you, as you talked about?
Yes, thank you, Ivan. So I'll give a example of one of our products, the FBS Innova app, which we are collaborating with one of our partners. I don't want to mention the name, to get it to almost 7 African countries. And normally these farmers are working in cooperatives. So in that cooperative, at least one of them is an educated person who is able to assist them. And this cooperative periodically also organizes workshops and stuffs, during which some of these platforms are given for education on how to introduce or make use of these innovations to the smallholder farmers. And also for people who are not also into agriculture, I think now farming is becoming quite sexy. Pardon me of my words, because you see, you can be at the comfort of your home and use mobile devices, simple innovation devices to be farming. We have other platforms that you don't necessarily have to go to the farm and farm. You just subscribe to it, and somebody will be farming on your behalf for you. And let me give you a typical example of our Akoko market. We have a section of it which is called the own a depot model. So the own a depot model is for individuals who want to retail poultry products. So you can be at your comfort of your home, be a retailer of our products. Just use your mobile devices. When somebody make a request, the request comes to us. We push those requests to you, and you are quickly able to get it to the farmers to deliver on to that person. So you don't have to necessarily get yourself so much involved. You just have to understand the processes involved and understand one or two things, and you're able to use these simple innovations to make an ends meet and also to make an impact in the agri sector. So I think the innovation of today has brought a lot immense opportunities for the unemployed, for the youth of today to be part of that great. We are all youth, we are all young people, and I think we are all farmers because we are doing something that has to do with agriculture, and we are all farmers. And we are very educated people. So we have a lot of people out there who can also chance upon this kind of opportunities to get themselves into agriculture. And everybody is using, a lot of the young guys, young men, women are using smartphones today. So you can just, it's just a matter of just, as I said, mindset. People think farming is for the poor. People think farming is for the poor. People think farming is for the uneducated. But all of us, like we gathered here, the minimum is a degree holder over here. And we are all doing agriculture. So when the narrative is changed, when a lot of education is given us, no, we have a lot of people who are doing agri, who are having their masters, who are having their PhD and stuff. I think it would also encourage more people, because there are a lot of people who are not employed and they don't know what to do. And we can harness their resources to bring enough transformation in the agriculture sector of Ghana. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Moses Malagan. I like one of the things you said, I mean, which is part of your model, the own a depot, right?
Yeah.
Own a depot model where you can, I think this is very interesting. And for the young ones out there, wherever you live in Accra, in Ghana, in Kumasi, please link up with Moses and own a depot now. You can supply X to some people somewhere and you make some cash. I tell you, that's a great thing you're doing there. Before I come to you, Kwabnakra, just one comment let me read from Eric Bonzi Eshon. He says, it's nice to hear something about innovation in agriculture in Africa. So our viewers, please keep the comments coming, follow us and like our discussion. So Kwabna, we've heard from our innovators, and we've seen that one of the ways to unlock the potential or to improve adoption, if you like, would be to improve extension service delivery, as we heard from Zainab, and also get rid of the misconception of farming being for the illiterates and improving collaboration. And I must say, Oliver also mentioned something around finances, where he talks about the fact that if government improves credit to these innovators, this will be a good idea. And he mentioned something also on insurance. And at this point, it would be interesting to hear from you what you think insurance could do to help unlock the potential. But do not limit yourself to only insurance anyway. So the same question to you, how do we unlock the potential, in particular if insurance would help?
It's great, and I think they've made interesting points, and everything that I support or I agree with whatever they've raised so far. I think these are things that will help us to progress, okay, moving forward. These are the lines that I believe we should be thinking along. But what I will add, and it's not something that I'm even adding because the first speaker, well, no, the second speaker, Oliver made mention of, he talked about insurance. And one thing that I will talk about insurance a little bit, and whether or not we are underutilizing it, or is something that we are not paying attention to. And if we are not even paying attention to why, what are some of the limiting factors that prevents us from looking at the insurance side of it? Because if you compare insurance schemes in Africa and that of the advanced countries, they are something that you cannot even compare, right? Because these people are way here and we are still developing. But if you really start reading the insurance literature, you see that since 2000 there have been ways of trying to get insurance into the African agricultural system, but there's still some challenges there. And another thing that I think I'll briefly touch on, something that I think can also strengthen or enhance the development of these concepts, is maybe contract farming. If you have contract farming in place, it basically also gives the farmer the hope that, hey, I am actually going to reduce post-harvest losses a little bit, because if I know that I'm producing 20 tons of corn for buyer so and buyer so should have to come to this farm to take it, then we both will share the responsibilities, right? I'm producing, but because the buyer has also pumped in some money, the buyer would also want to make sure that I get the product at where I'm supposed to pick it up from. But if the buyer has to, all the buyer does is, okay, I go to the market and whatever is available there is what I'm buying, then I don't really care about how much you've lost bringing your stuff from your produce from the farm to the market. I only look at what is on the market and I take it home, right? But if I lock up myself with you through contracts, then we both have responsibilities to adhere to. So I think that's one thing. And even that can also help us if you have proper contract farming arrangements in place. It can also help us to reduce that huge imports that we always talk about, right? People are scared because if I'm importing and supplying a lot of people back in Africa, or supplying a lot of people in a lot of African countries, I would want to make sure that I am able to supply my deliver at all times, right? But the person going into production, if I want to rely on local produce or local production, I feel I might fail, right? Because there are no proper insurance in place. And so if I lock up in contract with somebody, I am not guaranteed that I can get the quantity that I need to supply the people that I supply to. I supply my products to. So contract farming should be something that contracting should be a concept that I think it's there, but it's not something that is big. But it's an area that I believe that people can even, we the youth can even look at, because it creates an opportunity for us to explore, to make ourselves better, to live a comfortable life, because we're going to make some gains from that perspective. Then coming back to insurance, Zainab, we talked about production not being a problem in Africa. I would say it's a problem, but it's not like a huge thing, because we can actually produce a lot. But I still think that that potential there is still underutilized. Why? Because of the risk involved in agricultural production. So if a young man, I even have my resources and I want to go into production, I am scared because I can lose everything through pests. I can lose everything through death of my livestock. I can lose everything through rainfall, failure, drought, fire, a lot of things, right? So why? Because you say, well, there's no proper insurance, not the idea or the concept of insurance is not something that is really developed for me to purchase and utilize in my production. So if we're able to develop the insurance structure in Africa, it will really, really help. And I'm not saying it's only the government that should think about this, but it also offers, it's something that the private agents can actually, explore. But the two things, or the things that I think are limiting it relative to why we are not, relative to what is happening in the advanced countries, is those two concepts that they call, and Edmond is doing insurance things, so he will even know more about this. It's the concept of, or the idea of, moral hazard and adverse selection. So basically, if I know that once I pay something, basically what I'm paying is I'm shifting all the risk onto you. So if I do the payment, I kind of feel like, okay, I am not going to even pay attention to what I'm doing, because if I fail, the insurance company, that's why I paid, right, for it. The insurance company is supposed to bail me out. But people who are doing that, you can also say, well, is the same thing can happen in the advanced countries too, right? But why is it that maybe it is a big problem in Africa, but not maybe a huge, or something that is not, it's a problem, but it's not of that magnitude as we are experiencing in Africa? It's because I believe that we are operating on small scales. So because if I'm operating like on, let's say, 2 hectares of land, I think that, I kind of pay attention to me not making too much money from this. So even if I lose that and go and rely on whatever claim or whatever money that I'm going to get from the insurance company, I am okay with it. But if you're operating on a very large scale, and you think about the gains, should you do the proper things, the gains that you're going to make relative to how much the insurance is going to pay you when there is a crop failure, or when there is livestock death, or whatever, you pay attention to, those things. But even in the midst of that, because I know that transforming from that small scale production to large scale, like small scale farming to large scale, is still going to take some time, right? It will be a long process, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't do something about it. And so because of that, in this day and age, they have what they call the index insurance concept. And that index insurance is basically not trying to get around those problems of adverse selection and moral hazard, when people are basically, private agents are not, or individuals are not paying attention because they've actually insured themselves. But the index insurance, what I think that the concept is about is, we look at the locality and not just the individual person, right? So if we're, let's say, looking at rainfall, you are basically locking in a contract, you're basically signing up for some insurance when, let's say, rainfall within the growing season falls below some threshold. So let's say rainfall throughout the growing season falls below 500 millimeters, right? Then we are saying, okay, we're going to pay you. So that one, you basically don't, it's not only you, because you don't have control over that thing, that specific thing, but it is it's something that affects everybody in the locality. Okay. Yeah. And also if you talk about even livestock, we can still apply that. People are still my readings, I came across that concept of index insurance being pointed there, and they were using some index called normalized vegetation difference index. So basically, it tells you how green a particular area is, because if the place is really green, that means there is more forage or whatever for the animals to feed on, right? So if that number maybe falls to certain level, the assumption is that, you are affected, your livestock is affected, so we have to pay you so and so. Okay, so if we are able to take advantage of these concepts, it's still, insurance in Africa is still in the process of development. But if we think about it from that perspective, as private agents, I think this is an area that we are not just, helping the farmers or helping people bear the risk that people are producers are going to face, but we as private agents can also capitalize on that and make, decent living from that. So insurance and contract farming, I would say, will be things that if we are thinking about innovations, we are thinking about transforming agri, then we should be thinking alongside that line as well.
Thank you very much, Kwabena, and also thanks for the summary at the end of your take. But not necessarily a follow-up, but I also wanted to say that one of the things I like is the contract farming that you brought in, and I would even qualify it and say that transparent contract farming would be very good, in helping not just agricultural innovation, but generally the transformation of the agricultural sector. But if you don't mind, just a minute or two for the benefit of our viewers, this contract farming, what do you mean by, what is it at all? At least I'm sure those of us here might know what contract farming is, but if you can break it down a little bit, and what would you expect to change? I mean, if you have any examples of contract farming currently going on in Ghana or in Africa that you think should be changed, if it should, in what direction?
So great piece there. So I think when I'm talking about contract farming, I'm basically talking about a transparent agreement between a buyer and a producer, a buyer of a produce. So let's say we want to use a corn producer as an example. So I produce my corn and I know that this is going to be my buyer, or we even lock in that contract, we lock in that agreement before I go into production. So I know that at the end of the day, I'm going to produce, I'm to supply Evans 20 kilograms of corn, right? And Evans is aware. Evans I can actually pay you a little bit amount of money so that you go into production. You can even utilize that to buy inputs and all that, the things that you need. That way, it also, washes away some of the financial burdens that you might, encounter as a producer. So yes, that basic agreement between the producer and the buyer is what I'm referring to. Because if those two things, that thing is in place, that the buyer has locked in a contract with the producer, the buyer is always paying attention, because I want to make sure that the money that I've given you, I get my money back. And because if I don't get it, I'm not going to make any profit out of this thing. So we are basically, both of us are sharing the responsibilities. That way, post-harvest losses will be, reduced, because I know if I produce 20 kilogram of maize, Evans is there to buy it right from the farm without necessarily me transporting whatever I have to the market myself. So that way I'm going to think about me producing and also how to even get my produce on the market to find a potential buyer. You go there, you can be there the whole day and probably nobody's buying, and you are forced to sell it at a lower price, or you are basically not even going to find a buyer at all. And so you end up maybe dumping some of them, or you end up dashing out some to some people. So that specific example will be an agreement between a maize farmer, and I know a lot of people are producing different things in Ghana, for instance. So just even use the idea of cocoa production in Ghana, for instance. Cocoa producers, they know that if I produce 3 million metric tons of cocoa, the government is going to purchase it. So I don't really get worried about where the final product is going to end up. I know it's going to go straight, the government is going to pay me. Maybe sometimes there is delay in payment, but still they get paid, right? So people don't get much worried about it. And you also don't worry too much about price volatility, like changes in prices, like, that sharp movement in corn prices, for instance. So if you have such a contract, such a thing in place, such specific buying arrangement or marketing arrangement in place, it actually motivates the producer, and the producer is much more willing to bear some of the risk, right? And that can even eliminate this moral hazard thing, because I know that if I go in, I know how much I'm going to gain from this, as opposed to me playing that kind of I don't care, I'm not concerned about this, because you are even eager to producing more and expanding your production business, because the buyer is there for me to get it.
Thank you very much. That's very, very clear. Yeah. And I think that innovators out there, like we said in the background, innovation is not all about technology or digitalization. Let's find a way to improve contract farming. I totally agree with Kra that it's one of the ways with which we can help transform agricultural sector and also improve innovation. So,
and I think that's even something that importers can even look into. You can actually go to the local communities, and even if you have to deal with farmer cooperatives, you have a lot of farmer groups come together. You make that agreement with them, formal agreement or other informal agreement with them, and then you are like, okay, this is where I'm going to get my supply from to go and supply my people, other than going to Ivory Coast to maybe import something into Ghana.
Right. So thank you very much. And let me go back to Facebook Live and say that if you're joining us for the first time, this is CEPSA Talk, and today we are discussing the topic promising agricultural innovations in Africa. And our guests have been Oliver, who took leave of us, Kwabena, Moses Malagan, Zainab, and then William, who unfortunately couldn't also join. Just a few comments before I come to ladies and gentlemen for your concluding remark on today's topic. So Portia Owusunyameche, she says, watching you live from Ghana. Abraham Sarkodie said, good job, guys. Nana Kwame, my only prof, very proud of you guys. Abebu. Oh, okay, so that's Abebu. And then Abraham Sarkodie has a question, maybe to Moses and Zainab. Zainab is still with us, except she's having some difficulty with her internet, but she's still here with us. Can you please throw some light on access to equipment in Africa? So there's a question from... Yeah, so maybe Zainab, you would have a go at it first. What's the situation with access to equipment in Africa or in Ghana, I suppose? Hello, Zainab, can you hear me? Okay, before Zainab comes,
yes, I'm here.
All right.
Yes.
So there's a question from Abraham Sarkodie, who is watching us live on Facebook, and he asked the question, can you please throw some light on access to equipment in Africa? I guess it's a general question, but what do we know about equipment accessibility to the smallholder farmer?
So the question is,
can you please throw some light on access to equipment in Africa? All right, so Moses, if you could say something about it, what do we know about access to equipment? I mean, at least you're also a farmer on the ground and...
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Evans. We don't work in isolation as farmers, so we are in group. I've been hearing of Church Tractor. We work from the same incubator for many years, so I understand a bit of agriculture and a lot of stuff, one or two. But the question is quite begging, because equipment is broad, and in terms of, I don't know whether it's tractors or I don't know that, but let me just try to assume the person is speaking of tractors or mention of tractors, which is one of the most used farm tool or equipment. So as mentioned earlier, I think by Oliver or...
Yeah, by Oliver.
Yes, you don't need to necessarily own this equipment. It's not business. It doesn't make business to own this equipment if you are a smallholder farmer. So that's why we have
Tractor.
Businesses like Tractor, Hello Tractor. I mean, even I don't think they even own more the equipment, the tractors. I don't think they even own them. I think it's kind of a collaboration or partnership between the producers, and they use their technology platforms to just make it available, accessible to the smallholder farmers at a fee. So if it's about the tractors, I think if the question is how do you access? I think that's what the person wanted to find. How do you access some of this equipment? Then you can just go to chochotractor.com. You can go to hellotractor.com. You can easily dial a short code, and they'll make their equipment available to you, the tractors available to you. There was another question on is Chocho Tractor available in Volta region? Yes, Chocho Tractor is available in Volta region. I don't know the specific town they are in, but I know because I've worked with them, I know they are in Volta region and other many parts of the country. So just go to their website, chochotractor.com or hellotractor.com, and you can access these services. Just dialing it to a short code. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So, or too soon, we would have to bring the program to an end, but not without hearing from our guest what their concluding remark. Yes, what their concluding remark is on promising agricultural innovations in Africa. Zainab, now that the line is better now, so I don't know whether you would also want to answer the question briefly, and then you tell us what your concluding remark would be. What do you have for the viewers out there as far as agricultural innovations in Africa is concerned?
So if I got the question right, the question was on access to equipment.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I must say there is, for business, those who want to invest in agricultural equipment, the opportunity is huge in Ghana here. If you do the ratio of agricultural equipment to the number of farmers and even agro-processors, the figures are quite huge. So it's an opportunity for those who would want to invest in this area. And then also to add to what Moses just said about the tractor thing. So basically the concept, the owners, they don't really have tractors, but the idea is to connect tractor owners to farmers. So a tractor, someone owns a tractor, he has an operator, then he receives the notification that a farmer would want to plow his land. Then the operator is instructed to go to that area. But normally we're looking at the numbers. So if the tractor is being moved, it is expected that at least it can work on a number of farms, not to work on one particular farm, because it doesn't make economic sense in moving a single tractor to go and then plow in a particular farm. Please, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. It's clear, loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Good. So there's an opportunity in the mechanization sector, and I would entreat anyone who would want to take advantage of the opportunity, whether be it if you want to import equipment into the system, into the country, it's laudable. Now we are even encouraging smallholder farmers, not necessarily thinking about even seeking the services of a tractor before you can even work on your farm. They are simple implements. And for now, they are not abundant in the system on it and making quite huge margins as and when they import this equipment into the country. So it's equally an opportunity for people to go into that sector. So agricultural mechanization is key. We cannot rely on rain-fed agriculture. So when we're talking about mechanization, not only tractor, we're talking about irrigation equipment, we're talking about planters, we're talking about agro-processing equipment as well. So it's huge. To transform the agricultural system, we need to all equally invest hugely in mechanization. So maybe I can conclude now.
Go
So
ahead.
we've spoken a lot about agricultural innovation, and I must say, food security is one of the major problems we still face as a country, as a rapidly growing country, and therefore smart modern technologies, knowledge, and good agricultural practices are the keys to unlock the potential for the better agriculture in future. Let me quickly conclude by saying generate profit and also improve the quality of life of the user. So we're talking about collaboration among stakeholders to come out with solutions, tailor-made solutions, if possible, to address some of these critical problems within the agricultural value chain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zainab, for that wonderful concluding remark there. She talks more about smart-based knowledge agricultural practices to help transform the sector. A minute each for you, Kwabena and Moses. Please keep it brief. Your concluding remark on promising agricultural innovations in Africa. Moses, go first.
Yeah, so in conclusion, I would like to say technology or innovation is making agriculture very attractive and sexy, and it gives us the young or the youth of today enough opportunity to make use of or go into agriculture. So I would only be calling on the youth, because we are all young people and we are into it and it's benefiting. It's very rewarding. So I'll call the youth to make use of these technologies and innovations. We cannot go to do reading or the hard work, because now the technology is minimizing all those kind of stress. It makes farming very easier, simpler, and attractive and very prolific. So I encourage the youth to go into farming. And I also, in conclusion, say a big thank you to CEPSA Africa and to the panelists and to the viewers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And now I'm tempted to say one of the things you've been saying. What else do we expect the youth? Agric is attractive and sexy, so please go for it. It's also profitable, as Moses has said. So Kwabena Kra, your concluding remark.
I don't know what to add, because they've already said all the amazing things, But what I would say is, with all these ideas and the way of thinking, the way people are thinking about agric now, it is making it extremely lucrative, and it's creating opportunities that probably existed but we're not even paying attention to. The opportunities are just availing themselves just like that, especially along in the marketing side. So I would say that as the youth, we keep worrying about we not finding jobs. Agric is offering huge opportunities for us, especially if you don't even want to go into production. You can still tap along the line in the marketing side of it, right? You can think about the marketing aspect by looking at it from the contracting issue. It is a place where you can actually make decent amount of income from. You just lock up, find some small money, lock in contract with a farmer, a producer. You just take it and you just send it to the people that you supply to. The market is there, and so the consumers are there, but what we need is how to get what they want to them at the right time, or whenever they need it. So that's all I have to add.
All right, thank you very much. And yeah, I absolutely agree with you. So viewers, all too soon, but not without allowing our two panelists, one who could not join us for technical reasons and one who had to take leave of us. But thankfully, we have Edmond again on the line, who will just summarize in a minute or two their concluding remark as well. Edmond?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so please go ahead for us in a minute or two.
Yeah, so I would say this is a very interesting discussion that we've had, and for me, I take it from the beginning that we need to change our mindset about farming, and we need to change our mindset about agriculture, because as we've learned today, we've learned that we are farming more efficiently and more strategically, if one would say. And I mean, as far as I know, when people talk of farming, it's all about I get land and I produce. But learning from our guests today, it's no more in that direction, because if I can be a depot owner on Akoko Takra and I will be buying meat and I'll be buying eggs and selling it. So it's the same way that in other industries where you can be anywhere along the value chain. In the same way, technology and innovation, as we've discussed today, is teaching us that we can be at different points in the agricultural value chain and make a difference. The thing is that we need more hands on board, and we are so glad that the innovation is there. They are teaching us how to farm better. They are making platforms, or they are creating platforms by which mechanization tools could be efficiently distributed and transferred very cheaply from one hand to another. And then we can also learn of how to use different mechanisms to store food and to make sure we have a year-long supply of food. And there are also platforms by which we can get our food from the farm to the consumer. So I think it's a really exciting time for us, the young people of Africa. We need to change our mindset and read more, research more, invest more time into the sector to understand where the potentials are and where we can tap in. Right? It's not about having that big capital. It's not about thinking of, I don't know how to weed, I don't have knowledge about how to produce that crop or how to produce that animal. But it's about understanding the system and knowing, oh, I can fit somewhere else with my knowledge and my expertise to move the sector forward and to transform the sector. So that would be my concluding remark on behalf of the
William and Oliver.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Edmond, for that. And just one last comment from Tony Kuntu Blanks. He says, great job, guys. And yes, also great jobs from my side. And I like everything that has been said. Just to pick on two of them, no biases here, but what KK and Moses said in combination, please, the youth out there, look at the marketing side. There are a lot of opportunities. Lock capital with a farmer somewhere, engage in contract farming. It's not supposed to be a complex one. Find yourself a job. People buy shoes, dresses, and they sell. You can also buy eggs. You can buy chicken. You can buy goats. You can also sell them. Liaise with Akoko Takra. Be a depot keeper like we have in the cocoa industry. Be an egg depot keeper. It's such an amazing business, and I'm sure that you would do. Farming is very lucrative and sexy. I like that word, by the way. So let me conclude by saying that we are still looking for sponsors. This is CEPSA Talk, and if there are any potential or possible sponsors around who would like to support this program, you are welcome, and you can do so by reaching us on www.cepsaafrica.org, or you can send us an email to cepsaafrica@gmail.com. Viewers, thank you very much for your time as always, and I'm sure next week we'll bring you another interesting discussion. My guests have been Kwabnakra, Moses Malaga, Zainab, William, and Oliver, who took leave of us. And thank you also Edmond Yeboah, who was one of the producers and stepped in for our guest who could not stay till the end of the program. And for our viewers out there, thank you very much. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, and then comment on it as well. Thank you very much. I am Evans Apia Kisi, the host of CEPSA Talk. Catch you another time. Bye-bye.